Welcome everybody back. Special episode, if you will, of High and Tight 2027 rankings update. It's going to be pretty brief. This will be put into the 2027 rankings story. Um, Joining me as always, Jordan Jones, Assistant Scouting Director, and Trey Lyons there on I don't know if it's my left or right, but on the other side for sure. Um, Guys, we're gonna talk 2027 rankings today. I'm gonna roll through the top 10. Uh, Leading it off, Tegan Leech, PDG Academy, Virginia Tech. You're going to see a common theme here, at least with school. Sam Sheff, Blacksburg High School, Virginia Tech commit at number 2. Christian Gomez at number 3, PDG Academy, UNC commit. Number 4, Chase Colangelo, PDG Academy, Virginia Tech commit. Number 5, David Cook, PDG Academy, South Carolina commit. Number 7, Nico Moritz Toledo, PDG Academy, Virginia Tech commit. Number 7, Brady McCormick, Dominion Sports Collective, Ole Miss commit. Number 8, Cole Cinnamon, Great Bridge High School, Clemson commit. Number 9, Brian Miller Jr., Woodgrove High School, UCF commit. And number 10, Jacob Babcock, Dominion Sports Collective, JMU commit. All right. Before we get into that, the elephant in the room. Of the top 10 players, 7 of those players are at an academy. And if you go to the top 11, 8 of those top 11 are at an academy, if you want to call it that. What are the thoughts here? I have mine, but I'll pass the baton. Jordan, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts?
I think you're seeing a trend of this all over the country now, where some of these top end players, they go to respective high schools and like we love high school programs, things like that. But some of these guys were there at the guy at their school, um, and opposing teams just avoid them. That hurts their development. So I think, going to these academies, going to play against, some of these top teams across the country with high end talent, they're not ducking the smoke. Where you can see some schools just avoiding their top end guys, and that just hurts their development. So I think that's the trend you're starting to see in the state, all around the country, where the guys that want to get better continue to get better and develop. You're not going to get better getting walked every 3 at bats, 2 at bats, things like that. You're just not going to get better doing that and seeing average armors where you're not going to see that type of armor get to the next level. So I think it's huge for those guys in development. And say, hey, I want to get better. I want to continue to get better. This is a way to do it. And I think with especially these guys in this group here in Virginia, um, I think that's going to be key for them, where you see them taking some next steps, in terms of getting better in their development. So I think that's huge for them. I think that was a key point for a lot of these guys in making that move, especially heading to their senior season, where as they get closer to that next year, heading to the next level. I like the decisions. I like some of these things because I know, like, we go to games where we're going to see some guys and they don't get pitched to. So I think it's huge for us, huge for them to see, to test their development, how they can get better. And I think this is a huge way for them, and I think it's going to continue to grow all over the state, all over the country.
Trey?
Yeah, not too much more to add from Jordan. The development piece is the first thing that comes to mind for me. Coming out of college baseball, you would see it like every now and then there'd be a freshman from, not naming any certain school, but somebody who didn't play a high level of baseball at the high school level. And then it would take them some adjustment time come the fall. And then eventually not many freshmen at the collegiate level are ready to play and make an impact their freshman spring, but they're much more accustomed to the level of work and the competitive environment that it brings with every day. I think that the academies, it's helping them sort of get there a little bit quicker and a little bit sooner, so that they're ready to step on campus their freshman year and compete right away on their team.
Doubling down on a point or two that Jordan made. One, I understand trying to win a game. I understand that you're vying for a region championship or state championship or whatever. I understand all of those things, and I love the I don't know what word to use, the kind of togetherness of high school baseball and the feel and the environment that it brings. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I say that. But to Jordan's point, like some of these guys are going, like Tegan, for example, understandably so. He was on a heater. He was going into games, the last couple games of the year, and he was getting walked 2, 3, 4 times in a game. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help him. And I know, and I've had this conversation with coaches, it's different sides of the fence, right? We're on the outside of the fence, and we're trying to see a player's ability to play the game, and we're trying to evaluate that, and we're trying to, see kind of where they stack up, if you will. And the coaches on the inside and the teams on the inside are trying to win. And understandably so, like Trey, you've been on that side. I've been on that side. Jordan's been on that side as a player. Like when you're inside the fence, those competitive juices are flowing. You're trying to win. I understand. I've made those decisions before to walk somebody or whatever, this, that, and the other. The one thing that is not really going to happen in the ABA or when they play those games is he's not really getting walked. Not at that rate. One, because of the protection that's around him with Gomez and Chase and Nico and Gunning and Caper. Like is a long list of guys, not just those 40A. Like it's a long list of guys that are going to give protection around him. So it's iron sharpening iron. If you are that level of player, now, if you play in an area where you're going out and you're seeing 85 to 94 every night as a hitter, or you're a pitcher and you're committed to the Division I level, and every night you're going out and you're seeing not just Division I, but just like college hitters, 3, 4, 5 college hitters in a lineup every single night, sure, stay at the high school, like you're in a decent spot. And we'll get to somebody who kind of factored into this with where they were, and not to any fault of anybody's own. It's not the high school's fault. It's not the area's fault. It is what it is. And we'll get to this player in a minute, but like one of these guys that's in the top 10 was going an entire season and may not face double-digit college hitters. An entire year. 10, 12 outings on the mound where he wasn't facing 1 or maybe 2 college hitters in the lineup. So how does that help him? It doesn't. And I know we're getting off base here with going down this rabbit hole when we're supposed to be here talking about 2027 rankings debate, but I think it deserved a few minutes of discussion because of the fact that there are 8 of the top 11 players in this class at an academy. Now, right, wrong, indifferent, like it or don't, these players are making a decision for their personal growth on the baseball field, which they ain't dodging nothing. They ain't ducking nothing. They're running towards the fire because they're going to go out and they're going to face 88 plus every single day, pretty much from top to bottom. And they're playing JUCO teams and they're inter-squatting and they're playing in the fall, they'll play, I think some of them will play some private schools who have good programs and stuff like that. And then they play the other academies. And like Will it be beneficial in the long run? Who knows, right? It's one of those situations you kind of get out what you put in, right? And everybody has a ceiling. So we don't know how much growth is there from player to player. But you can't argue with the fact that they're trying to better themselves and trying to set themselves up in a good position for when they get to the college level, like Jordan and Trey said. There's with the schools that these guys are going to, Virginia Tech, UNC, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Clemson, UCF, JMU, like there's not, they don't have the 3-year development just doesn't really exist anymore for the most part. There are exceptions, but at most of those schools, like there's no 3-year projects. So they want to prepare themselves to go in and compete day one. And again, like it or not, that's the move. And obviously we wish nothing but the best for those guys. We're gonna be out to see those guys a lot this fall and this spring. You may get tired of seeing us at, not necessarily them, but just people in general, tired of seeing us at academies and this, that, and the other. But we're going where the players are. We always have, we always will. And just so happens, especially in this 27 class, that's where the players are. So we'll be around during the high school season. We'll still go to the same number, if not more, high school games and all that. But the academies will catch a lot of our attention, especially this fall and early in the spring, because of the roster. So anyway, moving back to the rankings themselves, Trey, you had a chance this summer to see the number 1 overall player in this class in the state of Virginia, Tegan Leech. Just give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see Tegan the entire MAPI tournament. That Stars team was basically at my field the entire weekend. When they weren't assigned to my field, I went to go see them. There was one game at James River that Tegan had a pretty impressive at bat. One of his only outs in that tournament, I believe he hit 3 or 4 homers during the course of MAPI. I mean, it's just super impressive in terms of the overall consistency, how easy he gets to his power. The moves and overall at-bats are super polished for a hitter at his age. Like, I've been around when I was at VCU, I was around a second rounder for every day for a month and a half or 3 months, excuse me. And then another pro guy this past season. And then another one a couple years ago at VCU. I mean, he's the consistency and the level of quality of at-bats that he takes over and over again is up there with those guys. I mean, it is a real hitter. We talked about it on the Future Games podcast, like hitters hit, man. Like, all I've seen that kid do is hit. And then Jordan and I, there was one at-bat specifically at Iron Bridge that Jordan and I kept talking about in the days after. He took, I believe he was down in the count, maybe 1-2 as a changeup or something on the outer half, and he just blitzed the ball over the left center field fence. I mean, how many high school hitters from the left-handed batter's box are going with the changeup on the outer half and driving it the other way for a homer?
Yeah, it's different. It's different. And Trey, you said you coached one pro guy, if you will, this past year. I believe it is.
Let me shout him out.
It's 2. Here you go.
Yeah. Owen Prince, former VMI Key Det, signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates the other day. So go, Owen. Jordan, just another example to kind of further prove the point you made on the Future Games podcast. Talk about a guy just knowing who he is and leaning into that. Man, Owen, if anybody knows who Owen is, just undersized a little bit for the pro level left-handed hitter. But the bat to ball skills are just outrageous. And he leaned into that his whole career, had a really nice Division I career, and now he's playing professional baseball with the Pirates.
See, I had to catch Trey. I'm just over here just giving assists, just dropping dimes. All right. So we got Tegan there. Moving up to the number 3 spot from number 7, I'm sorry, moving up to the number 4 spot from number 10. I apologize. It's Chase Kangelo. Jordan, want to weigh in on Chase's summer and what we saw out of the Virginia Tech commit?
Yeah, we've kind of talked about it before heading into the spring, just him getting back on the field. He saw track at bats early in the spring on him, and he was heading in the right direction, just getting healthy, getting stronger. And this summer, the impact really picked up for him. Added some good weight, showing the ability to turn the barrel with authority, and showing some strength to the backside part of the field as well. But I think for him, it's just the ability to the impact is picking up at a good rate. He's one of the top defenders in the class. He can really pick it over there. He's an instinctive, high IQ defender. We always knew that early on, but the ability to impact the baseball this summer was a huge step for him in his development, and where he's starting to take that next step for him as open up a little bit more to that offensive profile. But the defensibility has been there. Impact's picking up, him being healthy and just getting back to where he was heading in the right direction before was huge for him. But I think just his work ethic, his ability, just show up every day and have that high IQ and make that as a difference maker as him offensively, defensively is huge for him in making this jump. But the impact rate is a huge piece and a huge part of this while he's making this move in this update.
I'm going to go with the now number 5 player, previously number 26. It's a guy that we saw twice this spring, and very different looks in those 2 looks this spring, and then just had a massive ECP workout, had a really good summer with the Met Scout team, the Canes National team. A really good summer, was on the ECP team, flashed some things there. Jordan, I know we were watching some of that on the way back from Super Sophomore up to 96. Am I right? But we're talking about David Cook, South Carolina commit, now at PDG Academy. And I talk about like different looks last spring. Some similar things. I think more so probably results were different. As the velo had some variation from start to start. The stuff as a whole had some variation from start to start, but a lot of what remained the same is just it was a guy who has kind of immense arm strength, definitely above average. I mean, you're talking about like, as far as just velo alone, you're talking about probably a 50, 55 velo right now, and potential future, maybe like 60, 65 in the future for Cook, and just kind of gets to it so easily, creates the arm speed and just the power arm potential so easily. Some of the raw spin metrics, and we haven't had TrackMan on him and haven't seen what some of those, like the actual output is in terms of your spin efficiency and release height and extension and induced vertical break and horizontal, like all those things. We haven't seen some of that, but just the raw spin metrics are just insanely high. I mean, what is he, Jordan? 24, 25, maybe even up to 2,600 with the fastball spin.
Yeah, I had him like 26. I think he may have flashed a 27 at one point, but kind of in that range for sure, like a higher spin fastball.
And the secondary is like upper 2s, 28, 2,900 plus. So he's the biggest thing with Cook, and the reason for his jump is just how he handled himself this summer for a large portion of the summer. B, could he have gone higher? Sure, he could have, based off of like where the future ceiling could be. However, I do think I think we're all in agreement here that there is some separation between the floor and the ceiling. I think some of that may have to do with like there's not an immense amount of pitchability right now, and it's still like athlete on the mound that has the stuff to overpower hitters at times, as opposed to like pitch, finesse, field to pitch, command, like things like that. So I think that out of like these top 5 players, like the ceiling is as high and potentially higher than the vast majority of those guys in the top 5. Just I think the floor versus some of those other players could be a little bit lower, just because of kind of where that present field of pitch is. But the talent, the athleticism, all of those things are hard to turn away from. You can't walk away from it, just because of the things that he has the potential to do on the mound. I think he is going to benefit, or has the chance to benefit more than anyone else in this group of these 8 players going to an academy. And again, this is not to any fault of anyone's or whatever. Just the level of hitter he was facing, where he was previously at, is not always like, when I was coaching and Jordan, I don't know if you played against some of these teams when you were playing, or Trey, you had an opportunity for the same, but like sometimes when you show up and you play that team that is just not very good, it's really hard to kind of get up for and kind of get the juices flowing and stuff like that. And I think, I don't know this, but there's a chance that played into it some, like tough to get the juices flowing, the competitive juices and all that stuff when, maybe you're facing a team that doesn't have any college hitters, and it's, I don't really need my plus stuff. I don't really need to be dialed in today. Whereas I think now he's going to need to show that edge every single time out. And so I think this could be a huge benefit for him on that, in that capacity. Jordan or Trey, anything to add there before we move on from Cook?
I just think, just being around, I think especially for him, just being around those guys every day, those type of guys every day, I think that can give him a little extra gear. Not just like the guys he's playing against, but the future college guys that he's going to be playing with. I think that can kick a little extra gear. Just being around those guys, can motivate you a little bit more. And I think, that's going to create some more ceiling, some more competition, some more grit for him to have some success this spring and at the next level as well.
Trey has nothing to add. No, I don't think Trey has.
I haven't gotten a chance to see him.
Yeah. And was he in a tournament when we were gone in Georgia, in Virginia?
Yeah, this summer and last summer. It's it's that one tournament when we're gone, he's there. So,
yeah. And I think he went against Dragon's team, the Ironbridge team, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so. Because I think Babcock threw in that game as well. For whatever reason, I feel like that's what we saw. But anyway, moving on. Next talking point, Trey, coming back to you. A riser, moving up more than 25 places in the rankings. Robert Kilpatrick, College of Charleston commit. Bishop O'Connell, right-hander, senior future games guy. Trey, you got a chance to see Kilpatrick, obviously, up close and personal at Lake Point. What are your thoughts here on the College of Charleston commit?
Yeah, for me, the first thing that really sticks out is the frame. I mean, currently listed as 6'3", 195. The average MLB pitcher height and weight is 6'2.5", 211, 210. So the frame obviously stands out as being a real positive. And then overall, my understanding is that he's gotten a lot better since the beginning of the spring to this point. He was 90-93 down at Senior Future Games, and I was actually on camera for that game. So I would have to be back behind the plate, and I got to hear some of the college coaches talk about how the stuff was playing. I don't have access to like the extension numbers or anything like that, but there were a couple of coaches back there that were really liking how the ball was coming out of the hand. I think, the fastball can be heavy at times depending on, his demeanor and his attitude and how he goes about getting down the mound. I think the slider has a chance to sharpen up and firm up a little bit more and become a real out pitch for him at the next level. It was a really fun and interesting look down at Senior Future Games.
So Trey is telling a little bit of a fib. He does have access to.
I do.
He does have access to those extension numbers. You just got to log in. But at Senior Future Games, extension on the fastball, it's not like I say that it's not what you think it probably would be. 5.5 on the extension, 5.5 on release height, and the portable units can be a little bit more finicky when it comes to like release height and extension and things like that, just because you're setting them up and moving them from place to place. Whereas when you're at Senior Future Games, you got the stadium units in there. So we were actually around 4.5 for extension and 5 on release height when he was at Fairfax Trials. But probably a little bit more like sinker driven. I think on the fastball. It's labeled as a sinker, so there you go. But yeah, like lower induced vertical. I think the fastball. Go ahead.
The average induced vertical is 3, and the average or the max. Sorry, the max. So the lowest induced vertical was 3, and then the highest horizontal was 19, averaging about 9.5 and 17.
Yeah. And like I said, the Fairfax numbers are a little bit more contrasting with some higher induced vertical. I did feel like I was sitting behind at the Fairfax event with Kilpatrick throwing, and I did feel like, and we talked about this, I think, multiple times with him, it was definitely more east-west. That sinker, he threw a 2-seamer sinker, and he threw a 4-seam. I thought they played pretty identical as far as like what the exact metrics were from one to the other. I'm looking at like 8 and 10 on the sinker, and I'm looking at like 12 and 17 as far as like the max and the average. So there are some differences just as far as like sitting behind looking at it. I didn't feel like it was substantial or significant difference in between. And then I think the slider plays like more sweeper. Now, if you look at the numbers, there's not a ton of side to side, but there's also not a lot of depth to it. So I think that's probably why it plays a little bit more sweeper, even though it's not a ton of side to side, just because it's probably a little bit more lift at times on that slider than it is depth. But definitely an intriguing arm. I was trying to pull up the video here, Trey, so that we can. I may be late to the party here. There we go. So different arm action, different look. Like Trey said, like big physical kid. See. Where are you at here, Trey? Where are you?
I'm behind the camera in center field.
Oh, yes, that's where you are. So we won't be able to see you. But, yeah, good look at the College of Charleston commit there. Jordan, anything to add before we move on to your guy?
I just, with that arsenal that he has, he can flash power stuff at times. When he's locked in, he can just kind of take over some hitters at times. So I think, the arsenal can create some problems for opposing offenses when he's locked in and has that attacking demeanor.
All right, moving to Alex Komprowski, AK, PDG Academy, moving up more than 30 spots in the class. Is a guy that we saw during the spring, and I want to say saw multiple times. Saw him in that what regional, no state quarterfinal against Centerville at Centerville. Um, and typical AK fashion, he brought the energy. But Jordan, I'm gonna hand it over to you for this one.
Yeah. In the state, it's gonna be hard to find a guy that brings a more competitive edge than he does when he's on the mound. He wants the ball in big moments. He wants to attack the biggest hitter that you have. So that's kind of been a trend for him throughout the spring, throughout the summer. We've seen him get the ball in big games, big moments. He thrives in that type of situation. Um, so like I think with him, his biggest asset that he has is high end competitiveness. When he's on the mound, you see guys just shy away from the fastball. He's not afraid to use the fastball. He's going to attack you with that. The slider, I've seen it at times, saw it throughout the spring, saw him back over the summer here, where, when he gets a good groove with that slider, that can be a really good out pitch for him. He uses it early in counts, and he can definitely use it to put away, but he's not going to be afraid to attack with the fastball there, get in on hitters, left-handed hitter, right-handed hitters. He'll flash a changeup at times to a right-hand to a left-handed hitter. But it's high in competitiveness, attacking demeanor, and he's not going to back down from anyone. So I think just him moving forward, just continue to use that to his advantage when he's on the mound, and just being him. He thrives and he knows who he is. Being him and being that competitor on the mound is a huge asset in him, and just where he can find himself having success.
Trey, anything to add there?
No, I think Jordan covered it really well. Just another one of those dudes that I think, how he attacks being on the mound is one of the biggest determining factors for his success day in, day out, every time he toes the rubber. But this stuff definitely has a chance to be super competitive at the next level, depending on, what kind of demeanor he comes out to toe the rubber with.
All right. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, y'all covered it from top to bottom there. Now, one guy that's moving up, more the same thing, more than 30 spots, and the uncommitted guy that we're going to talk about. Well, obviously AK's uncommitted, but another uncommitted guy that we're going to talk about is Austin Uzel, coming off of MVP performance at state games, New Kent High School. Another future games guy. Who wants to take it here? Trey, you're unmuted, so you want it?
Yeah, I'll talk about Uzel a little bit. So yeah, obviously, Uzel's been coming to quite a few events and got to see him up close and personal at state games and senior future games. 6'5" runner, uber athletic, 95 outfield velo, 89 across the diamond in the infield. He's been up to 93 before. A guy with just a hit tool. When I think he had a couple hits at state games, a couple good swings down at senior future games. But uber athletic kid, can do a lot of different things. Maybe one of those guys that might be just a little underlooked because of his size and maybe limited offensive impact at times. But I've been pretty encouraged over the last couple of weeks watching Austin play the game and play it hard. So that's kind of what I got at the moment. Anything for any of you guys to add?
Yeah, for me, I think him making strides this summer on the mound. I think the key thing was just getting on the mound more consistently for him. I think that was huge for him. I've seen a velo uptick. I saw him up to 93 at the MAPI. He's kind of held that velo at 88, 91 throughout the rest of the summer. But I think for him, developing on the mound a little bit more this summer, just getting some more time on the mound has been huge for him. It's a quick arm. He's competitive, has a little edge to him on the mound, but long as well as on the mound, he competes in the box as well. But just for him, I think just continue to develop, continue to work. He has the arm strength, having some pitch ability to come on after that, and just continue to develop that. It's going to be huge for his success and his development on the mound. But there's some arm talent there, and I think it's some exciting thing to watch as he can develop and see where he lands.
Yeah, and at senior future games, just to double back, Trey's correct. Like Austin, he did swing. It was during the workout. He pitched in game, and then he two-wayed at state games where he showed some of that offensive upside. I do agree with Jordan, like him getting on the mound more consistently this summer. Probably in I say a little bit maybe deeper into outings. I think he was used more so like short relief, and I don't necessarily disagree that maybe that's what he is potentially longer term, is like a middle back end guy potentially, depending on what level in school and all those different things. Um, but him getting consistent mound time this summer, I think he just continued to trend up. Um, he's a solid athlete. Like I think is he like a? I know he's a sub 7. I don't want to speak
6'5",
6'5", 6'5", 8. So above average runner. He's got some pretty big arm strength in the outfield. I think probably the biggest question would be like, is he going to hit enough to play like one of those corner spots? Again, depending if it's the level that he can pitch at, I think that's probably where some questions might lie as far as the bat. But I think there's some legitimate upside. And I think the biggest thing is just getting to see him in game. Jordan saw him early in the winter at a workout, and like it was intriguing. But like, hey, how does it play in game? Is he going to throw enough strikes? All that, and he proved that this summer. The last guy that we're going to touch on, and we said we wanted it to be like 20, 30 minutes. Here we are, 36 minutes in. Another senior future games guy, Andrew Vaughn, moving up almost triple digits. And to no fault of his or to anyone else's, he's been at PVI, and that's been a tough program the past couple of years to kind of break that lineup. Because they've had some names like Soroy and Peltier, or both Peltiers, and Jewett and Gallagher and Vax, and they've had all these guys, in that lineup and in that program, and it's been a little bit tougher to kind of crack that lineup. He did so this past year, and the biggest thing that stood out is just his bat to ball skills, his ability to hit and show up in game. It's not like huge impact. It's just like this uncanny, just this knack and feel for the barrel and feel to hit. I know Trey, coming out of the Fairfax trials, Trey was definitely in the boat. I remember vividly having a conversation about, hey, who are some potential senior future games guys or who stood out at the event. And I think Vaughn was one of the first names that Trey kind of threw out there, that he was able to get a little bit more in-depth look at then. And like I said, we saw him this spring, and on multiple occasions. I want to say he had a hit or two in the state championship game, Jordan.
Yeah, he did.
So, I don't know where the fit is long-term positionally. I think he's listed as infield. He played some outfield at PVI. I know some infield spots have kind of sort of, at least they've graduated some guys in the infield as well as the outfield at PVI. So we'll see where he fits long-term. But the one thing about it is that the kid can hit. It's a good body. He's athletic. He moves well, and he competes in the box, probably more so than the bat to ball and some of his offensive upside. The thing that stood out to me, and I'm pretty sure it was Andrew, I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but it was like you never get into like these rundown situations during senior future games, and there's no coaching that goes on, right? Here's the coaching. What's the speech before, Jordan? What do we say?
There's no take signs, no steal signs. Just like, do you, like, it's about you, not about us. So I'll just go.
No bunts, no slashes, no takes, no steal, like no steal signs. I was like, hey, if you're an elite runner and you can really bunt and you want to show one, show one. If you want to steal and you're that guy, go be that guy. If you're the 7'5" guy and you clog up the bases, please don't steal and expose yourself. Because what's the old saying, Trey? It's better to be thought a fool than speak and remove all doubt. It's better to be thought that you're slow and than you run and you remove all doubt that you are slow. But he was at third. It was like a rundown situation in between first and second. I want to say it was versus California in the last game. Um, and he came off and he was at third base and he was like, "Hey, what should I have done there?" Um, we talked about the different situations, early game, late game, trying to steal a run, like what we're trying to do. Um, so like I think he wants to be a student of the game. He wants to be coached. He wants to learn, and the offensive skill set is hard to turn away from. Anything to add before we wrap this up?
No, I just think we're getting into their senior years with this class, like starting to shape up into guys what they are. Not too much of the ceiling stuff anymore. Is what they do and what they bring in, day out. So just keeping that in mind. But heading to your senior year, just getting things rolling with these guys. So I'm excited for the fall and see some of these guys and just heading to the spring.
Trey, just blank stare. You want to turn that camera over to that freaking Trevor Lawrence jersey? What are we doing? Leave that.
It's my roommates.
Oh,
But yeah.
what was
Yeah.
your room under the bus because you didn't want to let anybody know you had?
No, I'm a Ravens fan. But not much more to add to this. Excited to get into the senior year with these guys and see how this class shapes up as they get into their last spring of high school baseball, and then continue to watch their development as they go on to play college baseball or just see where they're at.
I just want to get one more look at that Trevor Lawrence jersey. That's the only reason we went solo out
Yeah.
there. But no, I appreciate everybody joining us. Like I said, this will be in the story. It'll be on our YouTube page, as well as we'll air it probably Thursday night, something like that. But you'll be able to see it and look at it beforehand on the story. So appreciate everybody joining us. We'll be back next week with the 28 story. And until then, everybody take care and enjoy the start of school.